So, I have been talking a lot about how AI could be really beneficial for the work a developer could do. And I genuinely still believe that AI can help you write code faster, understand unfamiliar code, generate tests, debug problems, create documentation, and honestly, just remove a lot of repetitive stuff that developers normally spend time on, right? So, from that point of view, yes, AI is definitely good. But I think there is another side to this conversation that we don't, talk about enough. And that is what happens when companies look at all of this productivity and start thinking, okay, so if one developer can now do the work of two or three developers with AI, maybe we don't need as many developers anymore. And this is where, things can get a little choppy because on paper, that idea actually sounds reasonable, right? If AI can, generate a lot of code, then maybe you only need a smaller engineering team. Maybe you keep a few developers around to, supervise the AI, review the code, and, ship features. And then suddenly experienced software engineers start looking, very expensive. Because if you're looking at an experienced developer from the outside, sometimes it might not even, look like they are doing that much, right? They might spend an hour reading code. They might sit in a meeting talking about architecture. They might reject a future implementation, right? They might spend half a day thinking about a database change and then only write 30 lines of code. And if you are only measuring output by how much code somebody produces, that can, really inefficient. Why are we paying this person so much money when AI can generate 500 lines of code in, just a few minutes? So recently I came across something online called the Duman fallacy. And I think it applies really well here. So this is the idea. This idea is pretty simple. Imagine you have a luxury hotel with a doorman standing at the entrance, and the manager looks at this person and thinks, okay, this person's job is basically to open and close the door. Why are we, paying someone a full salary to do something that an automatic can do, right? So the hotel gets rid of the doorman, of course, and technically nothing breaks. People can still enter the hotel. The door still opens. The actual task is still being completed. But what the manager did not understand was that opening the door was not the full value of that person. The doorman was welcoming guests, helping with luggage, answering questions, recognizing regular customers, creating that feeling that you are entering a premium hotel. Maybe even noticing when something looks wrong before it becomes a problem. So none of those things show up if you only describe the job as open the door. And I think companies can make exactly the same mistake with experienced, developers, experienced software engineers. Because if you describe a software engineer as someone who writes code, then yes, AI looks like an obvious replacement. AI can write code, and it is genuinely very good at that. No questions about it. But experienced developers are doing a lot more than that. They are deciding how the system should be built. They are deciding when something should not be built. They are noticing that a shortcut today is going to become a nightmare 6 months from now. They are thinking about security, performance, maintainability, scalability, edge cases, and all these weird things that happen when real users actually start using your software. And a lot of that work is definitely invisible. You don't see it as 5,000 lines of code. Sometimes good engineering actually results in less code. And this is why I think code quality becomes even more important in the AI era, because generating code is becoming cheap, ridiculously cheap. You can generate thousands of lines of code incredibly quickly now, but every line of code that you generate becomes something that your team may need to maintain. It can introduce bugs. It can create, unnecessary abstractions. It can duplicate things. It can make the system harder to understand. And if nobody experienced is looking at the bigger picture, you can end up with a code base that works today, of course, but becomes incredibly difficult to change later. And that is the dangerous part. Bad software architecture does not always punish you immediately. Sometimes everything, works perfectly fine for a year or two, but then you try to add one feature and suddenly you realize everything is tightly connected, tightly coupled. You fix one thing and breaks 3 or 4 others. Nobody understands why something was built in a certain way because AI did that. And now the company is spending more time fixing the system than actually building new things. So AI is not definitely bad for software engineers. I think developers who learn, software engineers who learn how to use AI properly are going to become, much more productive. But companies need to be very careful not to confuse faster code generation with replacing software engineering, because code is only the visible part. The real value of an experienced developer is often the decisions they make before the code gets written, the problems they prevent, and the quality they maintain over time, right? And just like the doorman, you might not fully understand everything they were doing until they are gone. So use AI, use it to move faster, use it to, remove repetitive work, use it to help developers do more. But I don't think people should be doing the mistake of thinking that because the door can now open automatically, the person standing next to it never had any, other value.